Your teen requested a ride, but this time not from you. It's through their Uber teen account. You drive your teenager around, a lot, to their friend Jacob's house, their other friend Jake's house, to James's, to Jaden's, to Jalen's, to...
Mom? This is Jake's house, not Jacob's.
Now with an Uber teen account, your teen can request a ride under your supervision. They'll ride with a highly rated driver, and with live trip tracking, you'll follow along the whole ride to their friends' houses that all sound the same. Add your teen to your Uber account today. See app for details.
Bye, Mom.
Summer's here, and you can now get almost anything you need for your sunny days delivered with Uber Eats. What do we mean by almost? Well, you can't get a well-groomed lawn delivered, but you can get a chicken parmesan delivered. A cabana? That's a no. But a banana? That's a yes. A nice tan? Sorry, nope. But a box fan? Happily, yes. A day of sunshine? No. A box of fine wines? Yes. Uber Eats can definitely get you that. Get almost anything delivered with Uber Eats. Order now. Alcohol in select markets. Product availability may vary by region. See app for details.
Thanks for listening to the Red Treehouse, where I tell scary stories to keep you up at night. You can listen to the Red Treehouse on your favorite streaming platforms, including Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Be sure to follow, like, and subscribe. Oh, and leave a 5-star review. You can follow the Red Treehouse on social media, on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, X, Threads, and Facebook at Red Treehouse Pod. And now you can find the Red Treehouse on Patreon. Join the Red Treehouse community for as little as $3 per month and receive exclusive member benefits, including personal shoutouts, early access to episodes, bonus episodes, and more. Simply go to patreon.com/Red Treehouse. As always, if you have a scary story or topic you'd like me to feature on an upcoming episode, email redtreehousepod@gmail.com. Important note, sources for this episode can be found in the show notes. The Red Treehouse is dedicated to my dad. I love you, Pop. Over the past few months, I've been collecting as many classic horror novels as I can get my hands on. Everything from The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson, to The Exorcist by William Peter Blatty, to House of Leaves by Mark Danielewski, to anything by Stephen King and Dean Koontz. Among my favorite horror novels are anthologies, a series of short stories compiled in a single volume. Two of the best are The Books of Blood by Clive Barker, and maybe my all-time favorite, Night Shift by Stephen King. The stories are typically short, sweet, and pack a punch. Similarly, this is part of the reason I enjoy the Listener Stories episodes. Each submission takes us on a journey into the experiences and responses of real-life, flesh and blood listeners. In this episode of the Red Treehouse, we're going to hear two genuinely scary stories from two Red Treehouse listeners. The second story is a first for the Red Treehouse. It's fiction, but it reads as if it were a real-life experience. A huge thank you to each listener for taking the time to submit these stories. They're shared in no particular order, but trust me, they're both scary stories to keep you up at night. Along the way, ask yourself these questions. What scary experiences do you have? What has given you the creepy feeling that you were being watched? What has made you do a double take to make sure there was nothing hiding in that dark corner of your room? And is it possible that whatever you experienced is something the rational mind can't simply explain away? I'll share the stories. You decide for yourself. I'm your host, Will. Welcome to the Red Treehouse. Our first story comes from listener Chelle Lune. You can find her on Threads and Instagram at CHELLE.LUNE. Quote, "So my creepy experience involves my aunt and uncle's house. Some short but important background information to give you an idea of the overall atmosphere of this house. It is nestled in rural southern swampland, where you have neighbors, but they are a little bit further away than what you would see in, say, a subdivision or a city. From the day my family bought this house, there was an ominous aura to it. On their first night living in it, my aunt had a dream that a severely burned man told her the area was cursed, and that a fire had raged there long ago, decimating the area. When she looked into it the next day, she found that there had, in fact, been a fire many, many years before. Doors creaked open on their own. A heavy sense of dread would overtake anyone as soon as they got to the second floor. And there was a vague feeling of another presence, even if you were the only one inside. So with the scene set, I will tell you about the most undeniable experience I had in that house. It was a muggy, southern September night, and my aunt and uncle's neighbor was throwing a football watch party that we had all been invited to. I went with my family to socialize and eat. But as I am no football fan, I quickly became bored. I told my mom that I was going to trek back to my aunt and uncle's house through the woods separating the two homes and read in the quiet until the game was over. When I let myself in through the side door, all was quiet. I grabbed my book out of my purse and got to reading, enjoying the alone time away from the rowdy football fans. This went on for about 30 or so minutes, until I heard a crash from the floor above. I turned my head up to the ceiling as loud footsteps rapidly made their way back and forth on the floor above me, before more crashing noises followed. Even though the house did give me the creeps, my first thought was, it must be my cousin and his friends. They were 16-year-old boys that were prone to roughhousing and had not been home when we left for the party. I assumed they must have been elsewhere, came home while we were out, and were now hanging out in his room. I went back to reading, ignoring the crashes and general ruckus that happened sporadically overhead. Not long after, I heard the back door open behind me, and when I turned around, expecting my mom, I was surprised to see my cousin and his friends. An important note: the way my family's house is situated, if you sit on the couch, you can see the front, back, and side door at all times. There is no possible way for someone to sneak in or out without being seen. There was another loud noise upstairs, and as I met my cousin's eyes, a flash of cold shot through me, and my skin erupted into goosebumps. "You guys haven't been here." My voice had a touch of panic. Another bang drew my cousin and his friend's eyes upwards. "Who the hell is that?" he asked me, ignoring my question. We were all quiet as the bangs continued, before suddenly stopping and plunging the room into silence. "I thought it was you," I said, eyes wide. After that, when the sounds did not resume, my cousin and his friends went upstairs to see if they could find the source of the noise or anything knocked over. They found nothing but empty air. I would go on to have several strange experiences in that house. However, none with as much irrefutable proof as the strange, loud noises that we all heard that night. It's been 10 years since then, and my aunt and uncle still live in that house, writing off the occasional disturbances that happen here and there. I, however, now keep my distance." End quote. Our second story comes from author Michael Kelso. You can find several of his books on Amazon and Kindle Unlimited, and you can find him on Threads and Instagram at Michael Kelso 8294. The title of his story is Night Watch. Quote, "The mournful wail of a distant fire whistle. That's my only company tonight. The moon is nearly full, and so bright that I barely need my flashlight to do my outside rounds. The building is large and old, the corrugated metal showing scars of rust and decay. During the day, it's a bustling warehouse, full of comings and goings. At nighttime, it becomes like a tomb, where every footfall echoes back to me. Every night I do my rounds, out of habit and obligation. However, in the 7 years that I've worked here, nothing has ever happened. So far, tonight's no exception. I sit outside in my guard shack each night for the first couple hours. Then after I do my first round, I unlock the warehouse, go inside, and use the small dingy bathroom. This is my routine. The warehouse is sparsely lit, with only the exit signs and the occasional emergency light to stave off total darkness. Inside the bathroom, a dull yellow glow from the single bare light bulb hanging from the ceiling is just enough for me to read by. Every night is the same. I come in, turn on the putrid yellow light, take my seat, and read my newspaper. The place always makes sounds, even when it's empty. The harsh buzzing of the exit light, the scrapes and skitters of unseen creatures, and the creaks and groans of the metal building, complaining when the wind tests its resilience. The first year I worked here, it was a toss-up between whether I would have a nervous breakdown or just quit. After a while, I finally decided to stop listening to the small noises and start listening for the big ones. However, 6 years later, I've never heard any big ones. Until tonight. The warehouse sits on the outskirts of Frost Creek, halfway up the mountain toward Hyalet. In other words, halfway between the middle and nowhere. The view is quite beautiful on a clear night. The lights of Frost Creek shine like a Christmas tree, with the mall being the angel on top. It's beautiful, and yet I still feel isolated from the rest of humanity. Sometimes that can be a good thing. No one ever bothers me up here. It's like my own little kingdom. My reverie ends as I return to reality and finish my first round, and go inside to do my daily business. I'm midway through page 2 of my newspaper, when suddenly, 3 knocks sound on the door. They aren't fast, but slow and methodical. Knock, knock, knock. A chill runs up my spine. Thoughts of malevolence and mayhem dance like sugar plums through my head. Fear washes over me like a hard rain. When my mind finally recovers, reason starts to kick in. There's no way anyone should be in here. I've just done a round, and there was no one. I haven't even heard anyone approach the door. Not even the skitters of the mice and other creatures that make the warehouse their home. It's decision time. How long do I sit here? Do I pretend I didn't hear it? Did I really hear it? Do I answer as though it's no big deal? Do I yell out and threaten to call the police? My hesitation makes me wonder if they're going to knock again. So I sit and wait, ignoring the pins and needles that are creeping up the sides of my legs. Nothing happens. After 2 minutes, still nothing has happened. No knock, no sound. Hello, I yell out. No answer. I summon my resolve. This is my job. I have to go do it. I finish my business and give my legs a minute for the blood to start flowing normally again. Then, I pull out the flashlight. I turn it on, but also in the back of my mind, think that it's good to have something in my hand I can use as a weapon. I reach for the door, turn the knob slowly, then open it quickly. I flash my light out into the warehouse, panning around but finding nothing. I lean out and check around both corners. I step into the large room, and all I see is a whole lot of empty. I don't breathe a sigh of relief, though. There are many places, dark corners, and crevices that someone could hide in. Hello, I call again, hearing the echo return my own voice. I decide to do another round to be sure that no one is here. I go very slowly and methodically, checking all the dark corners, under the desks, anywhere someone could hide. My fear rises and falls like a roller coaster as I search, find nothing, sigh, then move on to the next dark area to search. Each time I peek around a corner, my fear whispers of unnamed, unimaginable horrors. Every time I find nothing, I breathe a sigh of relief. Only when I startle a rat out of its hiding place do I see anything. I'm not sure who jumped higher, the rat or me. I make my way back to the exit, check my watch, and find I've been searching for an hour. Now it's time to go back outside. Fear whispers to me once more, especially when I find the door locked. Why would anyone take the time to relock the door? I abandon the thought, open the door, step outside, and flash my light around. Nothing. I check the ground for footprints other than my own, but there aren't any. It seems like I'm the only person here. I do another round, around the outside of the building anyway, just to be sure. After finding nothing, I go back to my guard shack and try to walk the tightrope between vigilance and paranoia. Eventually, boredom overwhelms both, and I finish the newspaper reading that had been interrupted. The final 2 rounds of the night produce nothing. Only a pair of glowing eyes in the bushes catch my attention. My light shakes until the rabbit that they belong to hops away from my light. My shift ends uneventfully. I grudgingly chalk up the knocks to my imagination, go home, sleep, and the next night come back to work again. I nervously laugh to myself as I walk my first round of the night. I try to pretend that last night's incident was pure imagination and continue my routine as normal. Around 2 hours later, I go inside to the dingy bathroom and sit down to read my paper, glancing at the door as I do. I shake off the notion as nonsense. When I turn to page 2, I heard it again. Knock. 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 Goose flesh rises over every inch of my body. Exactly the same sound, at exactly the same time as last night. I can't deny it or write it off as imagination. It's real. I put my paper down, finish my business, and run to the door. I whip it open so hard it bangs off the wall. The bang echoes as I flash the light all around the warehouse. "If I catch you, you're gonna be sorry," I yell, hoping it sounds more intimidating than I feel right now. No answer, and no sound save the fading echo of the banging door. The lack of sound is quite disturbing. There should be footfalls of someone running toward the exit. There's no way anyone could get from the bathroom to the exit that quickly. This is getting creepy. Again, I do a thorough walkthrough, looking for anything out of place, but find nothing. I do a walk around the building, and again come up empty. At this point, I think finding nothing is worse than finding something. At least with something, you know you're not going crazy. I go back to my normal routine, but I'm vigilant to the point of paranoia. Anything that moves, even a wind-blown leaf, has me nearly jumping out of my skin. The rest of the night passes without incident. The next day, I struggle with the desire to call in sick. My curiosity and my sense of duty are the only things that prevent me. I go to work, do my normal routine, go to the bathroom like I usually do. This time, though, I wait just inside the closed door. I wait, and wait, and wait. Nothing happens. I check my watch and it's 15 minutes past when things usually happen. What's different about tonight? Is it over? Is whoever or whatever done playing their infuriating little game? I open the door and there's nothing there. I close the door, shrug, go over to the toilet, and sit down to do my business. 2 minutes later, knock, knock, knock. What's going on? I ask myself with my body as taut as a rubber band. Can they see me? I look all around, at the ceiling, the walls, everywhere. I can see no place anywhere that a camera could be hidden. Why would anyone want to do that anyway? I have to make another decision. Do I jump up and try to catch them again? Or do I just ignore it? I choose to ignore it, and again my nerves are on edge. Nothing else happens the rest of the night. Home, bed, try to sleep. Unexpected bright idea. I come in early for my shift and speak to the supervisor. I tell him that I had a feeling that someone had been messing around because I'd been hearing noises on my rounds. I tell him I'd like the company to purchase a few motion detector cameras to set up inside. He hesitates for a moment, then agrees. When my shift rolls around, I do everything the same, and I hear it again. I ignore it. 2 days later, I come in early to watch the crew install the cameras. They set up 2 outside and 2 inside. When they set up the inside cameras, I suggested to the worker where to aim the one near the bathroom. But there's nothing over there. Only one small room in the corner, he says. Trust me, that's where I've been hearing the sounds. He rolls his eyes and aims the camera as I direct. After everything is set up, they give me an iPad and show me how to use it to view the cameras and zoom up close. When I start my shift, I have a bounce in my step and a song in my heart. I know that this is the night I find out the truth. I can hardly wait for my first round. I watch the clock. It's finally time. I hide the iPad inside my newspaper, just in case whoever can see me, and went for my first round. I finish up and head for the bathroom. I sit on the toilet, pull out the iPad, and check the cameras. They all work fine. I zoom up on each one, leave the bathroom camera view on, and wait. Knock. 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 I look down at the screen, but it's blank. All I see is static. And then, it suddenly clears up. No, I say, frantically tapping the rewind button. The video rolls back and I play it again. No static. Camera working perfectly. Then static for 6 seconds. Then back to normal view. It can't be, I say, shaking my head. I rewind again and go back to watching all 4 cameras at once. Only the bathroom camera went to static. I rewind again, paying close attention to the time when the static appeared. Then I watch each of the cameras during that time period and see nothing out of the ordinary. None of them show static either. I lean back against the toilet, too frustrated to be as terrified as I should be. I try several more times to rewind and catch something, anything on the video. Nothing. I have no idea what to do. My disappointment is so profound that I sit there, unthinking, unmoving. I don't know how long I've been sitting here, but my legs are numb. I set the iPad down and try to get up. Pins and needles run up and down my legs as the blood begins to circulate. I limp over to the door and reach for the doorknob. That's when realization crashes in on me and my hand starts shaking. All I can do is stand here and think. The more I do, the more I remember. Every other night after the knocking, there was nothing there. That doesn't comfort me much, but it gives me enough courage to turn the doorknob and step out into the darkness. I'm not sure what I'm expecting to see when I step through the doorway. Perhaps some unholy creature too evil for my deepest, darkest nightmares, waiting to swallow me up. But all I behold is an empty warehouse. The warehouse looks the same as it has every other night. I step through the door, whipping my light back and forth. Nothing's here, I whisper, causing the words to faintly echo back to me. I walk cautiously back to my guard shack, sit, and tremble as I watch the video over and over. There's nothing to see, I tell myself, not sure if it's what I want to hear. Right before the knock, the camera goes blank with static. Right after the knock, it clears up. Something was there, I said to no one, but it wasn't something of this world. It takes every ounce of will to step out of the guard shack and do my next rounds. When I go home that morning, I can't sleep. All I keep thinking about is that incessant knocking. When I get ready for my next shift, it's a bitter struggle to come to work and not call off sick. In the end, I just have to know what's going on. Am I going crazy? Is someone messing with me? I can't imagine anyone taking it this far. I go to work and do everything exactly as the previous night. After my first round, I go to the bathroom, sit down, watch the camera, see the static. The blood drains from my face as I hear the 3 knocks. So here I sit, and now I know it's not a fluke. Something unseen interfered with the camera. No matter how many times I watch the video, there's nothing there. I finish my round on autopilot. My mind has shut down, and my body has taken over, going through the same motions I have for the last 7 years. I'm in a state beyond petrified. It's like I'm in a walking coma. I can only do my routine. That's my only defense against madness. I sit in the guard shack and stare straight ahead for 4 hours until my shift is over. What do you do when you come face to face with the supernatural? When you come face to face with the brutal realization that your existence has been interacted with by something else. Something you can't explain or see. Something that terrifies you. What do you do? I think about it all through the day. Sleep is impossible. All that remains is one last test. I don't want to, but if I don't try, I'll go through the rest of my life wondering. I go to work, do my normal routine, take my break, and wait. I watch the screen, see the static, hear the knocks. "Come in," I said. The doorknob slowly turns, and the door inches open. A mist creeps into the room, followed by an overwhelming stench. I'm frozen with fear as a massive putrid claw with 3 fingers on it grasps the door and pushes it open. I don't have the words to describe the abomination that's before me. My mind mercifully shuts down, plunging me into darkness. I open my eyes to an empty room. Strangely, everything is on its side. I lift my head off the floor to reorient myself and try to get up, but immediately fall back down. I look, and my pants are bunched up at my ankles. I pull up my pants and rise. My eyes dart around the room, searching for the hideous beast that opened the door. I find nothing out of the ordinary. A glance at my watch shows that 30 minutes have passed. Was it a dream? Did my overactive imagination take me for a ride? I pick the iPad up off the floor and rewind through the videos. When I reach the most recent one, I press play. As usual, there is the image of the closed door, and then the screen goes to static. But this time, the screen remains static for 11 minutes. When the image returns, the door is open. My blood turns to ice as a thought races through my mind like a bullet. Has uttering those two simple words, "come in," invited something truly heinous into not only the room, but also my mind? What have I done? End quote. I'll admit, the listener stories are among my favorite episodes to publish. The first story reminds me of my own home, which is haunted by what we think are two spirits, a little boy, and something darker and more ominous. As I read about the noises and footsteps upstairs, my mind instantly drew a connection. There have been dozens of times where I've been home alone with the dogs and heard noises and footsteps in the rooms overhead. And it wasn't the dogs, because each time, they've been in the room with me and have looked up startled and confused. The second story may have tapped into a previously unknown fear: phantom knocking. I've got a few creepy stories involving phantom knocks, but they each happened once and that was it. It sends chills up my spine to think about these knocks occurring over and over every night. These stories were truly creepy. Another thank you to Chelle and Mike for sharing. Be sure to follow them on social media. And if you have a scary story or experience you'd like me to feature on an upcoming episode, email redtreehousepod@gmail.com. As we close this episode of The Red Treehouse, we're left with these lingering questions. What scary experiences do you have? What has given you the creepy feeling that you were being watched? What has made you do a double take to make sure there was nothing hiding in that dark corner of your room? And is it possible that whatever you experienced is something the rational mind can't simply explain away? I've shared the stories. Now you decide for yourself. I'm your host, Will. Thanks for joining me in the Red Treehouse.